Time to pull up a chair. We've got another great story for you today in the rLounge. Staying at someone else's home is a great honor and should be treated as so by respecting their space and property. Today on rLounge, be our guest. Up first, one man's trash is another woman's treasure. Am I the a-hole for kicking my 72-year-old mother-in-law out of the house at night because she threw away my things? I, 36 female, live with my husband, 41 male. I have a decent relationship with my mother-in-law. Compared to a lot of horror stories I hear from friends, she's quite sweet and warm. She is, however, a little over-controlling, overprotective? I'm not sure of the exact word, but she has very strong ideas about things and no sense of boundaries. For example, when she stays at our house, she takes over the kitchen completely and insists on cooking all our meals. She cooks wonderfully, but she won't let me help her at all and puts everything away in the wrong places, and then insists that her way is more logical. She only really comes for holidays, though, and I do like her a lot, so I don't mind putting up with these mild annoyances. I'm currently pregnant with our little girl, who will be born in a few months. This is a miracle. I really didn't think it would happen, especially so late, but we got lucky. When my mother-in-law heard, she was super excited and said she would come over to help us get ready for the baby. She offered to stay for the next 6 months or so to help out, because my husband and I both work long hours and it will be hard to handle the baby on top of this. She is also pretty emotionally invested in this because she truly sees herself as part of our family. She arrived a few days ago and set herself up. Then, she started with the cleaning. I like collecting things from garage sales and such. Things like little sculptures and books and baskets. Stuff a lot of people would consider utter junk. Our house is definitely overstuffed, but it's reasonably tidy and doesn't seem like a hoarder's house or anything. My mother-in-law, on the other hand, likes everything surgically clean. Yesterday I came home from work to find the house like a war zone. She went through my cabinets and cleaned out everything she considered junk and had apparently made several trips to Goodwill before I got home. I was really angry and I asked her why she would ever do this. She said the house has to be tidy for the baby and that it would be dangerous for the baby to be in my cluttered house. Then she took the next huge bag of stuff and tried to walk out the door. I kind of lost it and I told her she could get out right now. She was shocked that I was serious and she says she doesn't have anywhere to go and it's so late. It was about 9:30. I booked her hotel room and called a taxi. My husband came home an hour later, and when I told him what happened, he was furious with me. He says I disrespected his mom and was ungrateful for everything she's trying to do for us. Am I the a-hole? Ask for opinions. We've got them. First up, not the a-hole, but you may want to consider why she did that. Your house may actually be cluttered with junk and she was helping. I, of course, don't have, photos of your house and its previous state, but what she did was still an a-hole move. Edit. I didn't expect upvotes for this. I also see a lot of people commenting things I agree with, and I did make some responses, but I simply don't plan to sift through all the comments. However, I did try to respond or at least upvote the ones that stuck out before opening them all started making my Reddit app act weird. OP, if you also don't plan to sift through everything in the sub-comments, basically get your crap from Goodwill ASAP before it's sorted and sold. Also, from one expectant mom to another, best wishes with your baby. You will always have people telling you what to do with your pregnancy, child, and life from here on out because they've done it already. Learn to be firm on boundaries and telling people you receive their parenting advice if they try to give it to you, regardless of if you wanted to use it. The next person comments, it doesn't make a difference. It's not her mother-in-law's problem to fix. There's nothing to fix. If she doesn't like the way the house is, then mother-in-law needs to stay out. The fact that you are insinuating that her house is messy or she's a hoarder is insane. It's her house. And when the baby comes, there's going to be even more messes. And again, it's not the mother-in-law's place to do or say anything about it. The OP replies, okay, I'm just going to give you all a list of all my junk and you can decide if I'm a hoarder. A walk-in closet with a lot of thrifted clothes, some that I altered myself. 4 quilts in said walk-in closet. An antique wood desk with a typewriter that is immediately just taking up space, but it is gorgeous. A lot of wall art. None of it matches, which my mother-in-law hates, but it's all hung properly and intentionally. 2 shelves of fancy china in the dining room, which I'm never going to use, but again, it's displayed purposefully. A coin collection in Ziploc bags in my closet. 2 ugly end tables. Several rugs from garage sales that are in use, not just rolled up in a corner. 2 bookcases of books. You can never have too many books. And fine, books lying around on the coffee table, kitchen table, and couch. A few shelves in said bookcases with family memorabilia and such. Houseplants. A lot of throw pillows that also don't match at all. a tree sculpture with Christmas ornaments and pictures hung on it, lamps on every table, a geode collection, a spice rack with a lot of little spice bottles, too many dishes. It fits in 2 kitchen cabinets though. Normal house things. What she gave away. A bag or 2 of my clothes that supposedly aren't practical. A box of books. A bunch of paintings. Some pillows. Dishes. A whole drawer of my rocks. Another person responds, "Get rid of my books and we'll be fighting." And another person says, "It's going to be bloodbath if you touch my books." One more person has a thought. Not the a-hole. What the F? You have a husband problem and you probably need to ask him if he gave her the green flag to tidy up. My mom is sort of the same way, though her house can be however she likes it, and threw out some stuff I wasn't ready to get rid of. Well, that's a boundary she won't cross again. You need to talk to your husband and then mother-in-law, but I suspect the husband has some explaining to do, because this is wild. It shouldn't matter what we think or what your mother-in-law thinks. The bottom line is it's your stuff, and your mother-in-law was getting rid of it without your permission. Regardless of whether she thought it was the best interest of the baby, your mother-in-law is actually not in a position to be making decisions like that. You're the child's mother, not her. Although it's nice of her to want to help, she needs to learn that she's a guest in your home. Update. Thank you to everyone that replied on my post. Appreciate the advice and wishes for the baby. So I talked to my husband after we both cooled down a bit, and I told him I felt let down that he didn't support me. He said it was just stuff and he didn't think I cared that much. I also asked him if he asked his mom to declutter and if he has a problem with my things. He said no, he literally has zero opinion about my decor or collections. I believe him because this is the guy who doesn't know the difference between blue and purple. So he said that's why he thought I overreacted, because in his mind it's just stuff and not nearly as important as a person whose feelings can be hurt. I said that my things matter to me because I've put effort into collecting, fixing them, and that some hold memories too. He said he understands and he apologized. He went and brought my mother-in-law home from the hotel in the morning, and I said I was sorry for losing my temper, and asked her if we could talk. She was still upset, but agreed. I told her I should have said this a long time ago, but I'd like it when she takes over and doesn't treat my home like it's mine. She seemed offended, but she said okay. I told her I would be really grateful if she helps with the baby, and I want her in my child's life, but she has to work with me and not just do everything herself. She said, "But you work." And I said that I know it's not what she did when she had a child, but I want to make this work, and I think I can have a job and also be in charge of my home. She was definitely annoyed, but she agreed to everything and didn't argue, so I think it will work out okay. I unfortunately couldn't get my stuff back though, but I have plenty more rocks hidden away. We have a couple more comments from the community. I'm glad your husband apologized and that you and your mother-in-law came to an agreement. I think you were a little too soft with her in how you asked for things rather than letting her know what she needs to do. This can be delivered kindly, but in a way that's not you asking to be respected in your own home, as if she has the right to refuse. So I hope it goes well, but don't be surprised if she oversteps again. I guess is my point. Someone else says, "You are a much kinder person than me. I wouldn't let her back in my house until she got all of my stuff back from Goodwill." You handled that well, OP. And you're right, she has to work with you. It's amazing that she wants to help you out while the baby is here. You're quite lucky. But she did overstep her welcome a bit by doing that. Right now you're nesting for a baby, so it's understandable why it was triggering. I mean, it's disrespectful of her either way. Thankfully, you're all on the same page now. Best wishes for you and the baby. What do you think? Was OP's mother-in-law in the wrong? Next up, a sister who can't play by house rules. Am I the a-hole for kicking out my sister because she wouldn't respect my wife? I, 32 male, and my wife, 31 female, sleep in separate bedrooms. It sounds a little weird, but it isn't. My wife has went through some things, and one thing she refuses to do is sleep in the same room as someone. The only exception is babies and children. She told me from the beginning she trusts me with every fiber of her being, but she just cannot do it. Of course, I didn't care, and I have my own little bat cave where I sleep. Now, here's where the actual story is. My sister, 27 female, asked if she could stay over at our house for the weekend because apparently her and her roommate got into an argument. Me and my wife agreed, and I told my sister about my wife's room thing. If you know she's sleeping, don't go in there. My sister was always kind of spoiled brat, but it really shone here. She complained that the bed in the guest room was too lumpy, and she didn't want to sleep in my room because of my man smell. After all this, it was obvious that she would complain about the couch too. I told her my wife's room was off limits, and it was either the options we gave her or she could find a motel. She agreed and everything seemed fine until I woke up at 3 in the dang morning to my wife yelling along with my sister, When I went to go see what happened, my wife was crying and my sister was just yelling back. I learned now that my sister sleeps in her underwear, so that made it even worse. I got into the argument and started yelling at my sister to get her crap and get out. Had one rule and she broke it. Her last statement was calling my wife a crybaby. My wife told me that my sister was trying to sleep in her room, possibly trying to kick her out. After that, I got text messages and calls from my parents saying I was a horrible brother for kicking her out like that, and agreeing with her, saying that my wife was a crybaby and she should suck it up. Of course, I just didn't listen to it, but my wife came to me and started talking about how I could have handled it better, and how she got texts from my mother saying the same. She said later the same day that she was happy I protected her. Still don't know why she said that, but it was probably my mother. This is really for if I should just apologize and get my parents off my butt. Am I the a-hole? Let's check in and see what those opinions have to say. First up, not the a-hole. You offered your sister 3 different beds to sleep on, and instead she chooses to literally sneak into one room she's been told isn't up for grabs, in the middle of the night. I'm pretty sure she's a character from a fairy tale. Goldilocks comes to mind. Another person chimes in. Info, what the heck was your sister doing at 3 a.m. in your wife's room in her underwear? Ask your parents for clarification on this. The OP says, sorry, my sister sleeps in her underwear, and she went into my wife's room to sleep. At least that's what I know. Another person comments, your sister's absolutely unhinged. Your wife's trauma doesn't even play into this. It is baffling beyond comprehension that someone would climb into bed with someone else without being invited in the middle of the night? Half naked? Not the a-hole. You're not the a-hole here, OP, and you have nothing to apologize for. Like you said, you gave your sister one rule and she broke it. If you don't even sleep in the same room as your wife, then your sister should have respected it. It doesn't even matter why. It just boils down to respect. She's a guest, and if she didn't like the couch, then yeah, she could have found another means. She's a grown woman. She should have been able to handle it. Sounds like your sister is the crybaby. Thoughts? Thank you for following along today on rLounge. Before you go, be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. If you have something you want to share regarding today's content, we want to hear it. Bye for now.